Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our free education webinar series. Today's call is on adopting a business catalyst mindset to drive value acceleration, being presented by Judy Bodenhammer and Mark Rosen. My name is Josh Lewis, and I am a member experience representative here at Exit Planning Institute. Before I pass the mic over to our speakers today, I would like to go over a few housekeeping notes. First off, the webinar is being recorded today. The recording will be sent out to you all after the call concludes. Please look for an email from myself or one of my colleagues with the link to download the recording. Please click the link and choose to save the file in order to listen to the call in its entirety. Secondly, I would like to point out the question box. You will see the question box in the drop-down menu of the GoToWebinar. During the presentation, please type any questions, comments, or feedback in that box, and I will be able to facilitate those over to our presenters. We ask that these webinars are interactive, so any kind of question or comment is encouraged. Next, I want to introduce our speakers today. Our first presenter is Judy Bodenhammer. As a co-founder of Client Experience Institute, Judy is passionate about creating customized learning experiences for professionals. She is an entrepreneur, business executive, coach, mentor, innovator, and community volunteer. She has committed her career to helping businesses and individuals achieve accelerated levels of success. Her engagements involve the innovative delivery of business consulting, executive coaching, organizational development consulting, sales and marketing programs, strategic planning, and training and leadership development initiatives with those organizations or individuals who want to positively impact their performance and skills. Her business leadership spans over 20 years, of which Judy spent half her career at Fortune 50 organizations, where her last assignment was Area Vice President, leading a $200 million division with well over 100 employees. Also presenting today is Mark Rosen. As co-founder of the Client Experience Institute, Mark's vision is to establish a movement among professional service providers and the clients they serve, whereby value creation is redefined in the context of higher meaning and contribution. To accomplish this, a new way of thinking needs to emerge, and Mark is committed to working with others, with other thought leaders, change agents, and practice professionals to make this come about. Mark is a business leader, owner, entrepreneur, mentor, and community volunteer. Throughout his career, Mark has played the role of catalyst, the individual from whom the growth, energy, and vision for success has come. Having quickly developed a reputation for not being satisfied with incremental growth, he has consistently been the driver behind the quantum leaps in revenue and profitability that have characterized the sales and market performance of his clients and employers. His engagements span the entire life cycle of a business, with an emphasis on startup, scale-up, and going concern businesses. He has consulted with numerous Fortune 1000 companies, high-growth startups, and a myriad of professional service providers. So with that, I will turn the microphone over to Judy and Mark, and they can dive into today's topic.
Thanks, Josh. That's great.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of Judy and myself, this is actually our second opportunity to talk to Epi Nation. As many of you know that have followed EPI over the years, we've had the pleasure of being in Cleveland. For myself, to have worked very closely with Chris and Scott Snyder and seeing all the different phases of development that the organization's gone through. So from one chapter to where they are now, it's an amazing story, and we're absolutely delighted to have the opportunity to speak to you today. One of the things that we have the opportunity to do, and as Josh said, based on the topic, I know exactly what the CEPAs do. I understand the process. Judy and I have owned businesses, sold businesses, consulted with companies that are in the process of doing that. So we've walked in your shoes, maybe not as a financial advisor or an accountant, but certainly as a consultant. And so one of the things that I think is very timely, given where we are in our history as a country, is with this pandemic, there's a real opportunity. Judy and I have done numerous interviews, voice of the client, consulting engagements, and really it's more than just the old saying here is, well, just help me through PPP and get my money and deal with that. No, it's about enlightenment. And so when we talk about enlightenment, it's about really creating value in a different way. And we'll get into those details throughout the slide deck. But I just wanted to open with that before I turn it over to Judy, because there are some reflections of the current state that I think Judy, consulting with some businesses that she consults with, I think could really provide some really good perspective.
So thanks, Mark. You know, it's fascinating now. You know, we're all starting to talk about this new normal and what this means, and we really believe we're going to kind of leave the past behind us and really reimagine this new future. Because one of the things I think that is so, it's a great opportunity for all of us that advise clients, is that we have to help business owners, we have to help our colleagues, we have to help the executives get past business fatigue. Right now, we all need to reflect on the fact that business owners are exhausted with this. They're scared, they don't know what to do, they may not want to continue with their business, exit may become far more prevalent. Others may say, you know, I'm going to invest all this time, energy, and effort, get my business back up and going. I'm not ready to exit. But I think that right now we're going to have to play high on humanity, right? That whole personalization piece. And we're going to talk about that in the context of being a business catalyst and a value creator. And the other piece of this is really around the collaboration that we need to do with our clients and with our colleagues in order to help pull each other through this period of time where people are exhausted by everything that they're tasked with as far as running their business right now, and really help them see this new normal as an opportunity for great growth. So I think, you know, kind of the basis and why you came to chat with us today is really understanding value creator and the role of how you can unleash greater impact. Mark and I have developed, and as do you with Epi Nation, and that's why we love speaking to Epi Nation, because we all share a similar philosophy, that we know that through our sprints and through our engagements, we're going to educate our clients about what really matters to them, about how they're going to grow their business. We're going to be these terrific, creative, innovative people that are going to help them solve their business problems so they can better position their business, as well as better position themselves as leaders within their business. Mark has frequently shared with me some of the people that he's met through EPI, and he talks about how anticipatory you all are as far as really looking at the needs of the businesses, the needs of the business owners, and saying, what can we do to bring greater value here? And then certainly offering possibilities, and this is really about impacting the enterprise in its totality. Ultimately, what we all live for is helping business owners be better, create more valuable businesses, and provide them with peace of mind. So we are in complete alignment with how you see your clients. We love that. Those are, you know, this is not about a transaction. This is about a relationship. This is about what we're going to be able to do to really build out and fortify that client so that they're in a better position as we look at things. So, you know, when any client is engaging any of us, right, as consultants and advisors to their business, they are engaging us on what we do well, right? So, you know, that's part and parcel of what we do, you know, kind of this is the swim lane that we can provide. So really, what does a value creator do? In that swim lane, we provide great value. That's why we got the engagement in the gigs that we're working with, right? But the value creator adds value oftentimes outside their normal work. They bring to bear their resources, their network, their industry knowledge, their business acumen to really contribute at a much higher level. And I think one of the things that's really important on this is making sure that it is value creation that the client does value. So part of that has to be we're walking down a path that really matters to the client. And sometimes our role in this is to be that role model. Because sometimes they can't envision really how great a relationship can be with an advisor. And part of our role as value creators and business catalysts is to create that new awareness for your client that says, wow, it can be this good. These people are so amazing. I would have the opportunity to be on a call with Patrick Lencioni, and I'm sure many of you have read some of his books, you know, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and the Advantage. And one of the things that he challenged all of us who kind of work in some of his materials is, he said, you have to ask yourself the question, as post-pandemic, are your clients and are your business owners and are your colleagues going to say, you helped them get through this, or you were kind of neutral? That is in and of itself the essence of what a business catalyst and a value creator is. So part of what we did, because one of the things that Mark and I really believe in is how do you start to look at yourself? And how do you get introspective about yourself as a professional and say, what am I doing with my clients? And what we did is we created this value creator assessment. So what I'm going to do is put these questions up on the screen, and I'm going to ask that each of you maybe take out a piece of paper and write down for yourself on a scale of high, medium, and low on how you think you perform at in these particular elements of being a value creator. So if everyone's got a piece of paper and a pen, I'm going to throw up the first question. The first question is, do you understand the cost drivers of your client? So score yourself high, medium, and low on that. And at the end, obviously you're gonna kind of give us a framework of how you think you do kind of overall as a value creator. So question 2 is the client able to recognize the value you deliver? Now, that's always the interesting piece. Sometimes we're working on projects and initiatives within some of our clients. The question is, do they recognize that that's value? And do they recognize that you deliver it? One of the things that Mark does really well with me, I am a big giver, right, as far as working with my clients. And there's times that I give too much that minimizes the value that they perceive. So there's a question that you're going to ask yourself here is the client able to recognize the value you're delivering, or are they just seeing this now as business as usual? So again, think of yourself and your clients that you serve on a high, medium, low scale. The next question is, how do you measure it? Can this be quantified? Can the value that you are delivering for your clients be quantified? And we're going to talk a lot about that kind of on the back end of this as you're working with other advisors, is how are you going to with grace and humility, talk to your clients about what you have contributed to their business. So again, high, medium, and low on that. The fourth is, are you in the conversations that are not just about the transaction that you're doing or the engagement that you're involved with, but that really do have enterprise-wide impact? Some clients, you may be really sitting at the table with them, you're leaning in with them on a regular basis. The question will be are you involved in these enterprise conversations, or are they kind of keeping you in your same swim lane? Question number 5 is, are you viewed by the client as a business expense or a contributor to the overall value of the business? At the end of the day, this is kind of your ROI, right? It is the return on individual effort, right? So the thing that you're going to have to really think about is expense or value. And we all know what column we want to be in on that. The next question is, do they appreciate the impact of your work? And are we doing an effective job at explaining what we are, how we are impacting our client's business? So again, high, medium, low. Question 7 is, does the client proactively seek your guidance on different business issues or opportunities? So this is the consummate, are you seen as an indispensable partner? Are you seen as that person that possesses the business acumen, the empathy, the knowledge, the network, that the client says, I need to call Judy, or I need to call Josh, or I need to call Jocelyn, because these are people that I really want to get their point of view on these business issues. Lawyers are known historically for being great at this. Accountants oftentimes are in the space of anything that involves the money, but the accountants that have really transcended into these partner level value creators are the people that really, any move that a business makes, they're calling their accountant. The next question is, does the client believe that you can share fresh perspectives that are meaningful and yet practical? In today's world, one of the things that we are seeing some best practices of people sharing, especially in kind of EPI Nation and the work that you do, is we've talked to professionals and interviewed them and said, what are you doing kind of during this period of time while people are stay at home, they're remote working? How are you keeping vitality in the network? And people have said that, you know, I'm making a phone call every day to somebody I haven't talked to in a while, and I'm sharing some perspective on what I'm hearing that's going on out there, and just checking in with people. But doing it very intentionally and being very introspective and offering great perspectives on what you're seeing as far as what other businesses are doing. So adding additional value. And this gives you that chance to really start to do some of those check-ins that maybe you haven't had when you're so busy on a day-to-day basis. Number 9, and then we've got one more after this, is does the client openly share their thoughts and ideas without reservation? So they are very transparent with you. They see you really as one of their advocates, one of their counselors, one of their most trusted advisors. And that is, you know, that goes to, and the interesting piece is that in the life cycle of the client, you will have different times and different spaces that you will have kind of different relationships. The thing that we encourage you to do is kind of get to that space that you really are seated at that table on a regular basis. And then finally, and this is the greatest compliment, are they brainstorming with you? Are they co-creating and collaborating on new ways to find better outcomes for their business? Because that means they respect your knowledge, they respect your intellect, they respect your ideas, and they want you to help co-create the future for their business. Again, are you part of helping that business move through some of the periods that we're in now into a better space? And being that person is going to help ensure the engagement post-pandemic. So with that, Mark, maybe you talk a little bit about kind of the different stages here.
Yeah, so one of the things, that sounds bad.
You're okay.
Okay.
You're okay.
So one of the things that we try to do in looking at how we categorize the different professionals, and again, it's a bit of an eye chart, but when I was running a business, I had a number of service providers that we preferred, we utilized, they were really good, they had deep domain expertise. But I have to be honest, we replaced, and maybe we shouldn't have, but we replaced our accountant twice and our lawyer twice because they were not doing anything other than reporting the news, right? And we have this wristband that I made up for my team, which is don't report the news, make the news, as long as it's not illegal. So what we try to do is encourage people to know where they are, because sometimes we're our own greatest advocate. But the reality is, if we don't broaden our value. And I'll give you an example. So Judy and I have a really robust network, and I'm sure many of you on the call do as well. But we make it a point during the pandemic, we were learning about risk management. We were learning about issues around human capital and motivating people in a remote workforce. We were learning about all these different topics, not because that's what we do, but if that's what the client cares about, we better understand enough about it. And more importantly, we should have someone on our network, if we're comfortable with, that we can refer them to, because the value that Judy and I bring sometimes is not judged on our performance, it's judged on our ecosystem. So many of you that are bankers on the phone and folks that are in the financial advisory space, I mean, you live this every day. But it is really important that you don't just get a stack of business cards and aren't networking virtually, but you're trying to fill gaps in your intelligence around certain subjects that are going to make you a more meaningful business advisor. So Judy, with that, if you don't want to add anything, I'll go to the next slide.
I'm going to head to the next slide here. There you go.
So as many of you know, going through the SEPA certification, many of you maybe on this call actually have your own businesses. I don't know all of you personally, so my apologies there. But when we look at levers, right? So when I go in, and I'm not a EPI consultant SEPA, so Judy and I aren't actually doing the SEPA work, but what we're doing is applying this same philosophy to the clients that we serve. It's just that we don't use the SEPA methodology just because that's not what we do. But these 6 levers are absolutely essential. And I know you have a series of questions you go through that EPI has created to assess your clients. So Judy, if you'd be kind enough to go to the examples on the next slide. Is it the one with the red or no?
Can you just work off the red, or do you want me to go all the way to the back?
Yeah, if you could. I mean, as long as it doesn't confuse
Yeah,
people.
sure, no problem.
Thank you. So what we did, and my apologies for the eye chart, because it is hard to read on the screen. But what we have done is provided examples of how you drive value creation beyond the normal sprints, and doing the operational examination, looking at cash flow, looking at all that. These are some other more human to human pieces, which is, I said to both of my accountants and both of my law firms that we fired, when is the last time you referred me a client, you referred me a subject matter expert, you referred me an employee? Okay, come on guys, like really, I mean, you are gonna be seen as an expense, not an ROI, because you're not doing anything there. We talked to them about where can you broker better decision making. I had the benefit of working with a couple large companies in Cleveland to help them form advisory boards, right? So whether you sit on it or you suggest it, this is an accelerator. Yeah, you got to pay a little bit of money to get the folks around the table or around the virtual table, but very, very important. Judy, I apologize because I actually took your piece.
That's all right. No, that's all right.
Go on to the next one that you want to do. My apologies, Judy.
No, that's okay. So, and I think, it's always hard because it's kind of one way here right now, but what we're hoping that we're conveying, and we created these value creators. We started out with a couple, and the more we kept working in this space with professional services and working with clients, we came to kind of build this out, because we recognize that this is the difference, and value creation is the difference between kind of a transaction of just, doing a gig versus building a relationship that can really build your practice. And I think that's what we're all after, is it's not just really serving our clients with excellence, but it is actually building out a practice because we have created value. So some of the things that you see up here, business process improvement. This is an area that oftentimes during your inquiries, you're going to find all kinds of opportunities to improve productivity. You're going to, right now, one thing that you could do right now is help people with remote work teams. Business owners do not know how to manage their virtual environment. So if there are people that are in your network that know how to do that really well, technologists, people that are going to be specializing in trying to build out a kind of a virtual workforce, those kind of things will be really helpful today. They may not be about the core of what you're doing, but it is certainly about a conversation that your business owner is grappling with. How are we going to do that? Yeah, I got everybody home. I got them safe. There's been, 60 days now. But now, how am I going to manage these people? How am I going to keep them engaged? How am I going to make sure that we can do performance evaluations? How can I make sure that they're being accountable for the work that they do? Those kind of, if you bring those resources and those ideas to people, man, they love you. And those are the things that enhance efficiency and operations in the hope of enhancing effectiveness overall with the business. So Mark, maybe you do the cost and the risk.
I just want to give an example on profitability, just because I think this brings the story back to EPI. So I've had the privilege of knowing one of the top accounting firms in Northeast Ohio, and one of the largest ones now, which is Markham LP. And Markham was previously Scotta Minotti, and Scotta Minotti worked with Scott and Chris to create these business roundtables, right? So instead of you going to Vistage, or instead of you going to EO or TAG, whatever it's called, you've got to create value. So I see some of you that are on this call that work for some banks and work for some larger companies. You have in your portfolio, right, thousands of clients. And I know they're virtual, so it's actually even better now because they were getting together in person. And to be able to bring like-minded business owners that don't compete in the same segments, right, to talk about stuff that you facilitate, let me tell you something. Right now, especially, I'm going to invest that hour as a business owner to really know, A, misery loves company, so that's a good thing. B, what is it that people are doing around, furloughing, and how are they handling morale, and what are they doing around readjusting their appetite for investment, and how are they prioritizing their new strategic plan, and what is their new strategic plan? So the point is, don't think of yourself, it's not the Olympics where you're in one swim lane, right? You got to go across the pool. That doesn't mean you're going to finish the race first, but it means you're going to cover a lot of ground. And you got to be able to do that, because in this day and age, I just called my top client that I have that is a business owner that I do just some side work with. And they're a $300 million privately held business. And he's like frozen. He's like, Mark, there's so much to consider. Every day is a fire alarm. I don't even want to get up and have to face my emails because everybody's asking me for direction on every goddamn thing. And there's no dress rehearsal for this leadership. These business owners didn't sign up for this. The managing directors of your firms didn't sign up for this. So it's really important to understand the psychology of your served audience and understand where you can, going back to the client first philosophy, peace of mind. If you ask me, number one, what that guy wants that I just talked to, he wants some peace of mind. He wants people to make stuff go away that he's dealing with, right, Judy?
This is the business fatigue we open with, right? Is that they are fried. You know this, you see this in the businesses that you're operating. They are, it is an onslaught, and there is no playbook here. There's no playbook. So whatever you can do, as Mark was saying, and whatever you can do to try to take one little burden off of them, or bring one idea to them that can help them with risk avoidance. What am I going to do to make sure that I don't have one of my employees walk in and completely, infect the entire organization? I have 200 people out. So those kind of things that you can bring to the table and be very specific. One mistake we've heard people make, they're just calling in and checking in and saying, hey, how you doing? That's not what they need. You know, or let me know how I can help. That's not what they need. You have to be very specific on how you can help them. And these value creators that we have listed up here, these are wonderful ways to start in leveraging the network that you have and the conversations that you're having with people in sharing that. You know, I love the idea of kind of doing small business tech groups or, you know, EO groups that you don't have to pay anything. You're just sharing the misery, as Mark would say. I think that's terrific. That's the easiest thing you'll do. It's 30 minutes. Grab a cup of coffee and go.
And the other thing, so I want to add some levity because Judy knows that I sometimes say things I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, he does.
So let me tell you something that a friend of mine did. So he's a big bourbon dude, and his top 3 or 4 clients are bourbon dudes. So he set up a virtual happy hour to talk. You know, let me tell you something. When you think about what you're limited, you can't go to the gym, you can't get rid of the steam, right? You come home, if you do come home, you're staying at home, and you're stuck and you're dealing with all this bad news. So what he did was he did a virtual, like, bourbon kind of, you know, everybody had their select bourbon and they drank it and they talked about it. And I'm not saying that that's the practical thing to do, but it's an example of making it fun and being, as Judy said, human to human. You know, whatever it might be that allows, you know, maybe it's a, you know what, my top clients have 2 little kids running around and I have the same challenge. How do you deal with that, right? So this has nothing to do with being a banker or a lawyer or a financial advisor. This has to do about being a parent or a friend. And so these are the kinds of things we're seeing that are elevating people in a virtual world. So,
and these are the things that are giving people opportunities to get in the door on places they've never been able to reach before too. Because people are looking for, they're looking for help, and they're looking for, you know, they're looking for a shoulder that they can lean on in these really difficult times. And, you know, on the happy hour piece, that's great internally, and it is great with clients. And, you know, Mark and I actually had masks made for some of our clients, not branded to us or anything. It was just, we're thinking of you. Let us, you know, here's something that we want you to know, that we want you to be safe. Little things like that, that little touch is going to matter now more than ever, because those are the things that people remember. The kindness that you demonstrated and the helpfulness that you were to them in a time of crisis. This is classic crisis management.
Well said, well said. So we'll move on because we want to leave plenty of time for Q&A, and we're about 20 minutes into
Sorry. I'm going to have to go back to where we were, so hang on.
So
Yes.
I think we're at the slide now where the bubble chart is, if I'm not mistaken.
We in fact are. There we go.
Okay, so before we introduce the final concept, and again, I don't know how large this is on your screen, but let me just tell you what we do, okay? So as consultants, so we're coming at it a little different than the banker or the lawyer or the financial advisor. But what we do is we look at a BCG model, Boston Consulting Group, where on one axis you have the impact to the client. The other one is what you think their organizational readiness is. And what we did for this particular client, and again, this is around client experience, so it's a little different than what we're talking about, is we begin to give a roadmap. And you do the same thing, because if I remember right, Josh, with the sprints, you have to prioritize, you know, what you're going to do the first, whatever, it's 6 week, 4 week, I can't remember exactly. But to be able to show this pictorial is a really helpful way, because you got to take the analytics and make it easy for people to make decisions. Because let me tell you something, the best decision is no decision, and you're going to get a lot of that right now. So if you're trying to generate revenue, you gotta make it easy for people to digest the sandwich, right? You can't overwhelm them. And that's one of the things that Judy and I have learned the hard way, is that you may be the most smartest, articulate person on the topic, but if it isn't relatable to allowing the person to internalize it, you're dead in your tracks. All you've done is allowed yourself to come across as an expert, and that's not what this is about. It's about providing a pathway to profitability and peace of mind. So Judy, with that, I know we want to give about 5-6 minutes on the Pact.
Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do a little bit around. This is a tool that we've created partially out of our own knowledge and working with advisors that we enjoy working with, and on behalf of our clients, so that they can do business development and really work on their ecosystem and their network, and in support of creating greater value for their clients. So we created the Pact, right? So it's a proactive advisory client team. And what is the Pact? The Pact is all about pulling together people that are either the advisors to your clients or the people that you think that you could augment as far as additional resources for your clients that share a common perspective and philosophy, all right? First being, everyone is committed to share a wallet. We understand that that's where you have the opportunity to work and to gainfully gain engagements with some of your clients. The next level of advisory thinking and advisors that we enjoy working with and that we oftentimes challenge our clients to find and bring into their network to work with their clients is those that have a share of mind, all right? That they have a client base that thinks of them and thinks of those professionals as really important to the smart side of their business, that they're able to help make sure that the business is doing the things it needs to do, that they are always at the table when it comes to thinking about innovative ideas, initiatives, value creation, working through how to create additional revenue streams for the business. And then finally, and kind of the ultimate space that we all hope to achieve, is this where we have a share of heart, where we really do have that human-to-human connection with our clients and with the colleagues that we work with. When we can harness all three of these shares, this is when business becomes multiples for all of us, right? We all win, the client wins, and we share, and business becomes fun. You enjoy working with people like this. You enjoy working with clients that see you as part of their heart and see you as one of the most important elements and most important assets to their business. So when you and as you're working through the advisors that you currently work through, we see things in kind of the world of collaboration zones. And, I think what our observations have been is that oftentimes when we work with really smart people in various, bankers, financial people, accountants, lawyers, and other business consultants, sometimes we can get a little myopic. What we challenge all of the people that we work with and the professionals we work with is that you look at, there are zones of collaboration. And as you can see on here, these are, very specific areas that you really want to challenge yourself. And again, kind of as you're looking at kind of the vertical, the impact on the top row is can be perceived by the business owner as the greater impact. They tend to be business insights from strategic initiatives or enterprise-wide organizations, anything that kind of cuts across the business. Collectively as a group, you're going to have really amazing insights on what's going on inside that business, from a holistic business approach as well as from a functional business approach. One of the things that we want to continue to remind people of is that you could have a business, in order for it to be effective, it has to be both a smart business where you've got the functional areas working really well, but it has to be a healthy business, which also includes those strategic and cultural and organizational wide issues that relate to people and politics and communications. All of the professionals that are serving the clients, really it's kind of our duty to make sure that we are observing all these areas and finding ways to add value by collaborating together on what we see in these spaces and making sure that our clients understand that. So how do you know? So as you know, let's say you've got a client team that you're working with on a particular engagement. You've got the accountant, the lawyer, you've got the financial person, you're the business consultant that you're kind of harnessing that whole group. I guess a couple of things that we found is clients have different states of readiness of really that collaboration. You know, some may say it's not a priority that you work together. I like working with you discreetly. It's okay. But those are probably not as, the greater you go up this continuum, the greater the operation, the opportunity and the engagement level. So kind of I don't need to say what these are, but ultimately, as you're looking at this, you go from not a priority to the client mobilizing with support of that entire advisor team. So as you're thinking about some of the relationships that you have with other advisors on your clients, take a look at where you think your client is here. Take a look at where you think you are. Consider the collaboration zones that we talked about, and take a moment now while we have this, get in touch with them and say, what can we do more? How can we offer greater guidance and insight that's going to create greater value on the back end of this for our clients?
And Judy, one point that I want to make to help the folks on the call, because I want to hear your feedback, is even though I haven't done it the EPI way, I understand it. You know, you could have two buckets. One is, how hard is it with the client? And then how hard is it with his or her advisors, right? Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, from talking, only to the chapters, Judy and I presented at the national meeting in Phoenix when the hurricane came into Florida a couple years ago. And when we talked to, I don't know, a couple hundred people, Josh, or so, their biggest problem was also navigating the advisors, right? And so, we're going to send to Josh this full fillable PDF form, because it has profiles. It allows you to do background understanding of styles of the other advisors, because it's a collective group. It's not just you that has to make the magic. So before we wrap up, because we have a couple of things that as kind of next steps, Judy, is there anything else you want to comment here before we move into the final close, before we open it up?
I think the only thing to just be mindful of is that not all clients are ready, not all clients are ready for this, right? So, but this gives you a path of going forward on what you can pursue, and the ultimate position, again, where it really can create greater value. Because again, why you're here is how to be a business catalyst and how to create greater value. Good. Working and leveraging this collective and this collaborative group can be such a great level of satisfaction for you, and such incremental gains for your clients. And that's the piece that sometimes you have to push a little hard to make it happen. But the thing that we encourage you to be is that, it's going to be important for you to be the leader in this. And I'm trying to get to the next slide here.
Do you want to get to the final?
Yeah, I'm trying to get there real quick.
You could talk through it if it's not advancing.
There we go.
Okay. So, Judy, you want me to take the first one and then you'll finish?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll take the first one. You take the second. And
we have time for it.
We're going to talk about kind of the role of leadership. So we see EPI Nation as the as the entities, as the people, as the catalysts that can take a leadership role in this. All right. And we also know that leadership is not always the easiest thing to do. But what we are hoping that you'll take away from today is really three things, right, for you to explore. Because Mark and I try to be both, inspiring, hopefully a little bit provocative on some of the things, and then practical. So this is kind of the practical side of this is, what are the three things we'd love you to do? First thing is, we'd love you to spend a little bit more time, and we'll send the deck to Josh, and he'll send it out to you all, is that you assess the value that you create. And you have to be honest with yourself, all right? There are some clients that you do a tremendous job with the value that you create and the fact that you are a catalyst within their business. Others, not so much. And the question is, are there ways for you to kind of move up that continuum? Or, what do you do with those that, because not all clients are created the same. But I think you have to just really be honest with yourself and say, as I look at my current clients and I look at my prospective clients, where do I fit? Mark, number 2.
So the second thing, and again, this gets back to while we were going through this pandemic and continue to do it, make it a point to invest in yourself. Make it a point, not just on your continuous education for your appropriate field of professionalism. Make it a point to learn other aspects of how things. I have a dear friend of mine that I've spent an hour on the phone with the other day, because the biggest issue is whether the courts, as Judy knows, with the litigation, is going to cover business interruption, or is the government going to force the insurance companies to do it? Because really the businesses are SOL by and large, because it's not considered supposedly something that was in the rider of the policy. So whatever those things are, and that's just an example, please make sure that you educate yourself, not medicate, but educate. And then Judy, what's the last one?
And the last one really is, don't give up on the business development piece, and I think that Mark and I, we said, you don't want to be tacky. You can't be tacky about this now. You have to be elegant about this. And I think the thing that would be very helpful is if you really start to pick 2 or 3 areas that you really see yourself as being able to create greater value. Like, for example, maybe you do broker some conversations with insurance brokers, or you do broker conversations with some HR people that can really help with what's going on with their people and how to remotely engage them. Or you look at how to you bring to your clients different ways for them to engage and empower their people while working remotely, or protecting their people through various other areas. Yes.
Yeah, because one of the things that we're doing, so not to plug CEI, but we're doing a webinar next Wednesday, and believe it or not, we found people that specialize on virtual etiquette.
Right.
So we're doing a webinar that this one lady who's from Cleveland, who's awesome, is going to talk to people about, like, what do you do? Like, what should your background be? How should you address, what's too casual, what's socially not acceptable? And so there's a lot of stuff that we've never done that, again, this may not sound like you didn't sign up to get your license to do this, but that's the world win. So what we'd like to do.
And really, Mark, that's the win that you can have now too.
Yeah, to be more relevant.
That's all about being kind of the best of the best in breed, right? That it's not about you, it's really about them.
Josh,
and that comes across.
So we want to be mindful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be pushy, but I want to get to the question. So Josh, do you have anything that's out there, or you want to unmute the professionals?
Oh, it's no problem on the time you guys are taking. It's been a fantastic presentation. Q&A, we can open Q&A up for anyone who would like to send us a question, and then if you guys want to continue to talk about what you were talking about there, and I can cut in with a question if you'd like, we can do it that way.
Well, I mean, you don't let them in live, but I would love to hear from them. Look, Judy and I are pretty humble people.
Yeah.
We learn from these other advisors. I mean, there's some top-notch client companies and names on this registration list. So if anyone has a best practice or is able to provide a perspective, I mean, look, your stage is our stage.
Right. And we all live together on this, right?
Josh, sorry, I didn't mean to throw a curveball, but instead of us talking, I just wanted to take a pause and see if anybody has anything.
Oh, absolutely. I will let you guys know as soon as I get a question or
Okay.
Or can you unmute people and see if people have a live question they'd like to ask, or is that not possible?
I don't believe I can do that.
Okay. All right.
So let me just say one other thing that I think will be helpful. as you leave this webinar, right? You know, we as advisors have an incredible, and I say this to Judy every day, fiduciary responsibility, whether we really have it or not, that during these times, people can make a really catastrophic decision based on bad advice because they're vulnerable. So we need to really make sure we know what it is that our best practices. We don't, we can advise on other people that have expertise in other areas, but I've worked, mentoring startups, and one of the biggest challenges I see with some of the mentors is they start trying to be God and start talking about other areas that they don't really know. So it's really important that as you invest in yourself, you stay true to being the fiduciary to your clients, because I get it, if you're the financial advisor or the banker, you're a fiduciary anyway, but it's really tough, and people that didn't get the PPP and folks that are dealing with lifelong employees that they've had in a lot of these facilities that you guys consult with that are family businesses that are second gen, third gen. I mean, this is a lot more than about pandemic. This is about them severing a relationship where they know the kids and the families, and it's a big deal. And so Judy and I never look past that. And we almost, as Judy tells me and I tell her, we wear it on our sleeves because we care that much. So, the humanity side of this is really important. So don't lose that. And being vulnerable is fine. You don't look, we're sitting here, you didn't see my dog bark, you didn't see a kid cross over, but people are accepting of the little frailties that we have. So now's the time to really build the relationships, because people are open and they need it, because human interaction, they're dying for it. So it isn't, go ahead, Judy, I'm sorry.
This is the time, just think about even in your own personal life. In times of crisis, this is when relationships really come together. They can come two ways. They can blow up, or they can really get fortified. And what we're proposing, and this intuitively, we're trying to hopefully give you more courage and conviction to do it, is that it is the time of being personal over being professional. And that personal comes from what is in the heart, and in the, and keeping your client and your business owner and your colleagues up at night, and making sure that you're reaching them through empathy and authenticity, and doing stuff that perhaps has nothing to do with the work that you do, but at the end, they're going to remember that you contributed to their success in getting through this crisis. And that's what's going to get you the engagement and the future relationship and the future business and the referrals to other business owners that they have. Well, and we do know that to be true. I mean, we really do. It's just the nature of human beings,
Yeah. So, Josh, I think we're good to wrap. I don't know, give people back 5 minutes of their life. Is there anything that's come through that we need to answer, or no?
No questions have come through. We can give it another minute if you'd like, if anyone had anything to ask.
Yeah, and I just, while you're doing that, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware. We'll get the slide deck, we'll get the fillable Pact to you. Judy, is there anything else I'm missing that would be helpful to send out as part of the assets of CEO?
We'll send out the
value creator assessment.
Value creator assessment, yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll get that to you, Josh, and obviously any feedback from the viewership on whether this was valuable. I mean, it'd be great, if you could send a note to Josh, because we are only as good as our last gig. So we love getting feedback. So,
right.
On behalf of Judy, well, Judy, you close because I did the opening. Sorry.
All right, so everybody, thank you for spending an hour of your time. We hope that you took a couple of ideas away. We hope that we reminded you of just how good you are and how good relationships can be in these really difficult times. and that we all recognize, and we hope that you become part of our network as we will become part of yours, because we are all in this together, and the new norm is a kind of a cool place for all of us to move to. So with that, be safe and be healthy, and we wish you the very best and hope to see you at a future EPI Nation event. Thank you.
All right, and thank you again, Judy and Mark, for joining us, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to talk to everyone soon. Have a great day.